Perfect. So I ask our trainers to introduce themselves, and I pass the word to Julia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julia. I'm based in Shanghai and hopefully geographically more closer to you or in Asia. And I have more than 20 years leadership development experience, working with large organizations, corporations, NGOs, and top business schools, particularly in leadership development. And together with Jerome, who is going to introduce himself from Inner Green Deal, we are launching this program and hopefully support your transformation in order to transform the food system that you will be working for. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Yes, my name is Jeroen. I'm very honored to be here. I'm very curious about you and your food systems work. I'm the co-founder of the Inner Green Deal, which is a non-profit organization focused on accelerating green transformation through inner development and learning and development, and also nature reconnection. I'm based in Brussels, so a bit far away. So I'm really delighted to be here. And yeah, so we work a lot with the big institutions like the EU, the UN, UNDP, for which we pilot this program last year, as well as with sustainability and food system people from around the world. So I'm very curious to be here, and I'm handing over now to my lovely colleague, Charlotte.
Hello, my name is Charlotte Dufour. I'm based in France. I'm in the COFSA, the Conscious Food Systems Alliance Secretariat, as working as practice advisor. So I'm a nutritionist by training and have been working on food systems for about 25 years. Most of my work was been on multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholder collaboration. Quite a lot of my experience was in Afghanistan, actually. And I'm very happy to be with you. I've discovered along this journey of working in food systems that, how we show up, who we are, our skills for engaging with people are absolutely key. And I've gained a lot from my own contemplative practices over the last few years. So I'm delighted that we have the opportunity to open this space and explore it together. And I'm now happy to hand back to Julia, who will guide us through an introduction of the program.
Thank you. And yes, please. Can you see the slides now? Yes, it's coming. Thank you, Jerome. Yes, to talking about the Conscious Food System Leadership Program. So why would you consider to join, actually? To transform the food systems, we must not only working on policies, research, and project implementation, which is on the outside, but also we need to work on the inner drives of individual, collective, institutional behaviors. Like Charlotte just beautifully mentioned who we are, how do we show up, how do we working with other people. So increased connection to ourselves, to each other, and nature can activate such transformative qualities and skill sets that's needed to support the transition to regenerate food systems. Could you please turn to the next slides? Jerome, could you? Yes. So for whom, this program is uniquely designed for. So this cohort, as you can probably notice, is especially for the professionals that working in food system in Asia. And we're hoping you are the change makers or having the aspiration already practicing as change makers in the field of sustainable agriculture, food security, animal welfare, protein diversity, One Health approach. As you probably can already notice, fluent English and good enough or good internet connection are actually necessary for you to fully, taking or harvest this opportunity. And priority will be given to participants who having the capacity to integrate your learnings and this agenda, your own programs or your organizations. And if you can apply with your colleagues from the same organization, that could also be prioritized, because we believe a buddy system is easier, make it easier and better to integrate the cultivation of such inner capacities within your organizations. and people who have been exposed or actively involved in COFSA activities before. We also have reserved a number of seats for participants who have interest and the capacity to offer, this kind of leadership program in the future to their own network. And this cohort is available for free up to 50 participants. Yes, could you please turn on the next page? Yes, so why this program, why this leadership development program? This is an inner change, accelerate systems change. To be able to transform our food system, we will need a lot more innovation, funding, and technological changes, you name it. But it's becoming much more clear now. These alone are not sufficient in themselves. Research has shown that in order to accelerate the outer external changes, we need actually inner changes. So what do we mean with this inner dimension or inner change? Well, this is exactly something we were inviting you and hope that you would explore through this program. But by a first way, as a taste or a first definition, the inner human dimensions of sustainability refers to our individual and collective mindsets, values, our worldviews, our belief systems, as well as the cognitive, emotional, and relational qualities that we all have. Whether it's our ability to think long-term or our ability to be empathetic to the problems of others. In other words, the inner human dimension of sustainability refers to all these such inner qualities that actually influence our ability to navigate and facilitate food system transformations. And as illustrated here on this slide, the inner dimension might be an even bigger lever for systemic change than we typically assume, and perhaps even bigger than the typical material and technological change. Could you please turn the next slide? So as you can see a little bit more on more specific detail level, the inner capacity, the capacity for the conscious food reconnection. And within the heart of this whole picture, you can see the shift in consciousness. And that is a core for everything. So emerging research is showing that at the heart of the food crisis is a problem of disconnection. We are by and large disconnected from ourselves, from others, and from the nature, as you can see on the left side. To transform the food system, we need to create the inner capacity to reconnect at all three levels. So we need to revisit and reconnect to our own values, become conscious of our thoughts and biases we have, learning to listen and cultivate empathy and compassion, and deepen our ways to collaborate, and above all, integrate this into our work life. This requires time and space, but in our view, what is needed to address the root cause and come then to the outcomes that we can see on the right side, that is a reconnection on all three levels. So how do we get there? Over the past years, we have developed and rolled out programs with the EU, and now we piloted this food systems program with UNDP already last year. So let's look at the specific goals of particularly this leadership development program and what people found helpful from the past program. And now I'm handing over to my colleague, Jerome, to give you more details.
Thank you, Julia. That was really insightful. So the goals of the program, they're listed here. And as Julia was explaining, this linkage between the inner dimension and the outer food system is something that we really focus on, really important for us to understand at multiple levels. So that's one of our simple starting goals. And then, we work a lot on the connection to self, others, and nature, as we know how crucial this is. And this is what the research is showing. So what does that mean? So we invite you to slow down. We invite you to be in dialogue with others. We invite you to go on nature walks and to listen. And then we cultivate inner qualities, and the qualities we'll explore more. But these are, for instance, awareness or courage or compassion, but also system thinking. And then finally, we try and support you in integrate this into your organization and into your food system work. So those are the main goals of the program. Now, we use a particular methodology, and the Inner Development Goals methodology has researched this intersection between inner and outer change and defined 5 categories of transformative change. And you may have seen this before. This is becoming a real standard internationally. There are around 600 hubs around the world who are already working this, and organizations have started implementing this. And we found this very helpful overview to have these dimensions that include being and thinking, more inner dimensions, relating to others as a bridge to action, to start collaborating and acting. And just to give you a little bit more of a sense what we mean with this. So each module, we have 5 main modules, and you'll see here these 5 main categories. So for instance, in module 1, being, we explore how values and inner qualities such as openness or integrity and presence shape your ability to have impact and guide your food system work. Then in module 2, where we examine the role of our mind, we explore how change can be blocked and unblocked by the way we think. And we do a very interesting exercise about immunity to change based on the work of Robert Kegan from Harvard. Then in module 3, relating, we practice empathy and compassion. And we explore how the way we relate to others, but also ourselves, and we talk, for instance, about self-compassion, is crucial. Then in module 4, the focus is on collaborating. We move more in the outer space, and we reflect on how to improve working relationships, for instance. And we also, in a very concrete way, invite you to collaborate in little groups around the question of how to integrate these learnings into your specific food system work. And we group you around certain themes, so that makes it easier to relate to each other on this. And in the final 5th module, we will reflect on learnings and how to move forward and how you can continue to support each other on an ongoing basis, building this network across borders, sometimes among similar organizations, perhaps maybe NGOs or more governmental or more from the private sector, and finding similarities and supporting each other. Now, let's have a slightly more detailed look. Now, and apart from these 5 modules that I explained, the being, thinking, relating, we also have contemplative practice sessions. So you can see here, these are 1-hour sessions on mindfulness, a session on compassion and breath work, during which we explore the core principles of these practices. We, of course, practice together, and we address questions that you may have. And these are, as I said, 1-hour sessions. The main modules are 2.5-hour sessions, and together they form a whole that is supported by continuous invitation to be in nature, to walk in nature, and to connect to nature. That's not all, and at the risk of overwhelming you, we also invite you and support you that in between the modules you have self-paced time. So to explore and practice these contemplative practices such as mindfulness, compassion, breath work on a daily basis. And these practices are pre-recorded, and I'll show you more about that, and are typically around 10 minutes. So hopefully something that you can integrate into your day. And you may already have a practice, of course, but this is something that we will give to you. We also invite you to review content on the learning platform so that we don't have to go through the content in detail during the sessions, and we can keep the sessions more light and more interactive. We, as I mentioned, invite you to go on nature walks based on recorded guided walks. and of course invite you to journal and reflect. Now, a few words about the learning platform. So you have access to a learning platform, which is browser-based, and there you find articles, videos, and other content. And for each module, there's some material to go through. And if you really want to go deeper, there's longer content to go through. And what's interesting is that each piece of content has what we call a seed question, so that you're invited to reflect on the learnings. And this is also an opportunity to share your insights about how you experience this in your food system work, and so that you can learn from each other as well. As I mentioned, we have an app, and there you will get access to meditative exercise and guided nature walks. So you have this with you wherever you go. Now, our programs are based on the latest research, and specifically the neuroscientific research from many academic institutions. And we particularly work with Professor Wamsler from Lund University. And based on her pre and post survey of our programs, one of the interesting findings was that she found a really clear linkage between compassion on the one hand and pro-environmental behavior on the other hand. And maybe this is obvious if you think about it, and to put it very simple, the more someone indicated that they care about others, the more likely they were to act pro-environmentally. So one of the findings, but more detailed findings you can see here on the slide. We ask and we evaluate inner qualities and the extent to which they were increased. They were perceived to be increased during the program. And we find consistently that in particular, people who already act and are very busy in collaborating on food system change find that the being and relating, so the relating is the compassion, the empathy, the being is the presence and the values and all of that, are the elements that are most cultivated during the program, in addition to what they already started with. And you can see some examples here on the right. Now, a core element is not just the cultivation of these inner qualities, is what do you do with it? So this slide shows the extent to which people start integrating inner qualities in their food system work. And you can see here some dimensions. So it's working with stakeholders, it's about learning and development, but also about strategic priorities and aims. And you can see that even during this relatively short program, 2 to 3 months, people have started considering to make change, initiated change, and actually initiate some substantial changes. So that's really where what we would say the rubber hits the road. And we're very excited that this is possible in the context of a program like this. Here you can see some qualitative feedback from participants, and I'll let you read it perhaps briefly or get a sense of it. But importantly, it strengthened my ability to collaborate and relate with others. It helped me to understand this inner dimension and the value of compassion to create, for instance, a safe space, a safe working space. So yeah, so here are some examples. And then practically speaking, what are the workshop dates? Well, we start already on September 19, and then pretty much we work through week by week until November 12th. And yeah, it's of course possible that you will have to miss a week, and that is, that is understandable. But we invite you to really look seriously at these dates, and if you want to apply, commit to these dates as much as you can, because we feel that it's important. We will not record the sessions. Of course, there is a lot of content on the learning platform, and you will learn. If you join with colleagues from your organization, you can support each other, and that's the point. Supporting each other, working together, and integrating this into your work, because we feel that is really essential. Rather than just being a nice to have learning program, we feel this integration is crucial. And to help you and support you with this change process, because ultimately that's what it is, we invite you to really strengthen your own practice And again, you may already have a practice, but to reserve 20 to 30 minutes each day for either self-home practice, reading, nature walks, and preparing the modules. Now, practically speaking, programs available for up to 50 participants. We have an application form. Participation is free of cost, and we're very humble and grateful for the support that we receive from TRN Culture to make this possible. So that's why we have quite a lot of interest for this program, as we had for a program that we're about to finish in food system work, which is not Asian specific, but it's more global. So I really encourage you to look carefully at it and to take the application serious. The deadline is July 21st, so that gives you still a little bit of time. And you will be notified via email after the application deadline. And for any questions, you can refer to Naomi here. And yeah, we will share this information again so you have it. But hopefully you find this useful. And we quite realized that we throw a lot of information at you just now. This is not fully representative of the experience that you can expect from a program that is about inner development. So apologies for if this was just a lot of information. And perhaps therefore I should give you a moment to take a few breaths and to let this kind of sink in. And I give it over to my colleague Charlotte, who will help you.
Thank you very much, Julia and Jeroen, for lovely presentation. Yes, let's take a moment to welcome all this information in. And Jeroen has talked about presencing, and we thought we could start with a moment of that before going into question and answer session. So this is a Monday morning, maybe you've already, or Monday afternoon rather in Asia, maybe you've already dived into your week, but I invite you to take a little pause. And you may want to sit comfortably, maybe even close your eyes as we go into this short moment of grounding, and take this opportunity to connect with your body, to feel the floor, the ground holding you beneath your feet. Just feel your body. Is it relaxed and settled? Or is it maybe a bit tense? How's your mind? Is it rushing around with ideas about what you've just heard, or maybe other stresses you have going on? And I invite you to put those aside just for a moment by connecting to your breath. Feel the inflow and outflow of the breath. And start visualizing yourself as a tree or a plant. Imagine that it's not an office floor that is beneath your feet, but a lush soil, fresh and moist and full of life. Imagine you have roots growing into that soil, going deep. And with every in-breath, you are taking in flows of nutrients and water and sap from your roots that are nourishing your trunk, and filling your body with fresh life force from the ground up. And as you do so, you might feel a bit more settled, more strong, more stable. Feel the soul holding you, her generosity as she nourishes you. With every in-breath, the flow of sap and vital energy is increasing, rising up through your trunk and even branches now. And imagine at the tip of your fingers and the top of your head, beautiful green, lush leaves that are welcoming the sunshine. They might be carried in the light breeze. And feel this light, this life force coming from above, entering your leaves, entering the twigs and the branches, and filling you from above. Feel yourself fully alive and safe. And you might start being aware of the other trees around you in this Zoom space. See this group as a mangrove or a forest of that might be familiar to you. Feel the connections that are growing between us with the soil, with the mycelia. A certain sense of belonging. You're in a safe space. And being fully present, I invite you to now go back to when you received the information about this course. What did you feel? Was it curiosity, enthusiasm, confusion? And as you heard Julia and Jeroen explain the course now, did any emotion, any feeling, or any thought, any question emerge for you? Anything you're curious about? Anything you're nervous maybe about raising? Let it all in. It can be contradictory thoughts or emotions, no problem. And with one final deep breath, feeling the aliveness of your being and its connection to the other trees, but also the birds that might be flying around, the squirrels and insects that might be crawling up your tree. You can slowly come back to this space and we can open up for a little conversation. Feel free. You might want to open up your camera. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you now. It can be a question, could be an observation, could be an experience you've had that you'd like to share with the group. The floor is all yours. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hello. And if you don't have questions for us, we'll have questions for you.
There's one question in the chat.
Yeah, there's one question in the chat. Thank you, Sorav. So will we be running a similar program from a global perspective again / soon? Yes, there will be another one. The dates have not been set yet, but it will be most likely beginning of 2025. Am I correct, Jeroen?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, this course is for Asia. So in the sense of people working on food systems in Asia. So you don't have to be Asian, but the idea is that you're all working on the similar region. Yeah, thank you for your question.
Yeah, and I would not underestimate this. I've run a number of global programs, but the ability to work with people on issues in your region, I think it's very valuable. Yes, it's interesting to talk to someone in Latin America or in Africa, but their context often quite different, and perhaps also their view on life is a little bit different. And yes, it's sometimes refreshing, but also practically speaking, to be honest, there's also a dimension of being in a time zone that works for you. When we do a global program, you may have to stay up quite late for you to make it work for all time zones. So that's another very practical reasons why we thought it would be helpful to offer a program specifically to Asia. And of course, we are very lucky with the support we're getting from TRN Culture.
Yeah, I see Rito Raj. I see you took off your mic. Do you have a question or?
Shall raise
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, thank you for the wonderful presentations, and it's given idea about the entire program, and Charlotte for your moments with ourselves. It was a pleasure to work with you during COP26. Naomi, of course, I have met and I look forward to working with all of you. My question is the buddy system. Is it essential? Because at this moment I could not find somebody who, because they're working or studying, I could not find somebody who would be willing to be part of this. I could still find, but what if I don't find? Will it still work? That's my question. Thank you.
Jeroen, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, we will review all applications, and there are many dimensions to an application. So therefore, I will say yes. We will certainly consider your application, and it perhaps will make a lot of sense to have you in the program for a number of reasons. We just have this general idea that if you can join with someone local or with someone that you work with closely, it will help you. In particular, if you want to integrate this more into your organization. Now, if your organization is small, or if you don't have an immediate person with you, then perhaps you'll find a good buddy or a good someone to help you in the program. So it's not black and white. So please do apply, and we will certainly consider your application.
Yes, I think the idea there is making sure that when you take on the course, you are then in a position to apply it in a way that influences the systems and initiatives that you're a part of. And that's why this being a buddy, having a buddy from your organization or a partner is helpful. But there can be other ways that we see you will be able to use the course to generate influence in your work. And I see a question in the chat from Sieti about can the buddy system be one of the other participants? There will be moments in the course where you can connect with others, but that's a little bit separate from this buddy that we're talking about at the beginning when you're applying. And there, yeah, the idea is really to show that how you will be using your participation in this course to influence change in the system you are a part of.
So just, can you hear me?
Yes, hi Sean. No.
Yeah, no, so just getting a sense of the buddy. So each organization would have one person taking the program, and then you're working with a buddy separately, and they don't join the program. Is that how it works?
The idea would be that you both apply, so that you both follow the course and both receive it. And as you know, like when we hear something, we don't never capture 100% of everything, and we might hear certain things in one way, and another person might hear the same thing and take it differently. So that also allows you to compare notes and see what you're taking, and together see how you can apply it in your organization.
And is there any leeway to add additional people? Say if I wanted to add a further person, if I see that there's 3 people that could be useful for this, is there any, or are the spaces too limited for that?
I would say go ahead and apply for 3. And it's very difficult for us to say in advance, how many applications we'll have overall, what are the opportunities. It's a very difficult, we'd love to welcome everybody. One thing we would really encourage is that whoever is applying can attend the course. Because if somebody's taking a spot, it means somebody else who has applied won't be able to join the course because that seat's taken. And so then if that person's registered but they don't show up, it's a bit of a loss of opportunity. And the temptation might be say, hey, my colleagues are going to be there, I'll take their notes. So really, as long as the commitment is there, because we don't record the sessions. We're not in the current cohort. We might record some parts of the upcoming, but really most of the value of the sessions are in the interactions, and those are not recorded. So that's why attendance is very important. And the more you can have the build up from one module to the other, the more transformative it is. So we really do insist on making that commitment.
Okay, that's very clear. And excited by what I've seen here and what it could do for sort of what our work here. So I think it complements and adds something from what I can see from this introduction. So well done.
Thank you. Well, actually, I would like to say most of what you will get is also from other participants. And I don't know many of you in the room, but those I do know, I know have a lot to bring. So you really enrich each other. And I know, Sean, that you and your team will certainly have a lot to bring. So
There's a question from David about, can someone outside Asia apply, I mean, like in Africa? So the idea is, I think, is that that the persons who are in this program are working on food systems in Asia. Now, it's possible that that person is not physically located in Asia, exceptionally. Typically one would be based there. But the idea is that you would have a partner to collaborate on food system change in Asia. So if that person is based in Africa, I'm working mostly on Africa, then it doesn't make so much sense, I feel. And we have other programs for that. So yeah, I hope that answers the question, David. Any other questions?
If
Sorry to
not,
hold, but,
yes, please. Sure.
just the time commitment, it's 30 minutes per day, including the course and the coursework. I mean, and you're expecting that's 5 days a week or every day, just so I get a sense.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, thank you for raising this. I know it's a sizable commitment, and this is not carved in stone. So you just have to, of course, these are almost weekly sessions, or I think virtually weekly sessions, right? A session is 2.5 hours or 1 hour, depending on the specific session. And then in terms of in between things, we have to think about, we invite you to at least have a meditative practice each day. And that practice typically around 10 minutes. Okay? So that is kind of the minimum. Now, of course, there can be a day when you're traveling or it really doesn't work out, or, and you forget, and sometimes that's okay, right? But that's the baseline, in principle, 10 minutes. And then you would have some time in addition for maybe reading an article, listening to a podcast, going on a walk, and that's a little bit flexible. So the whole idea is that it's self-paced and you can integrate it into your particular workday. That helps.
Yeah, that gives better perspective. Thank you.
Great.
There's also a question from Marino in the chat, who's asking if we will have an output beside the assignments, like food systems projects output. I think the main outputs is, that you will identify ways for you to integrate an inner dimension in your work. So the idea is not to create like an additional project on top of your busy schedule, but rather invite you to see how you can integrate inner capacities and what we like to call an inner dimension in your existing work. For example, if you're working with partners and you might identify ways of improving the quality of the collaboration between you, then the invitation will be to apply some of the techniques or approaches you're learning within that existing set of collaborators, with your collaborators in your existing project. And we will, of course, be very interested to know if and how that is, helping you and maybe helping improve the impact or the flow and the quality of what you're currently doing. Julia, before you wanted to speak before.
Yes, actually, in a way, you have answered that question, is that, how you can integrate. We talk a lot about integrate and act, right? Acting. And so maybe you can give some example, particularly in the food systems, about integrating all these inner dimensions and how did this get act out, in the work?
No, that's an excellent question indeed. What does this look like in practice? Well, I think, many of us working in food systems know that we're often dealing with very complex problems, that they're multidimensional. You have environmental dimension or health dimension. You've got social issues. You might have conflicts. We often have a lot of conflicts in the food systems, for example, between farmers wanting or needing to sell their produce at a certain price, and the supermarkets getting those foods at a very cheap price from them and making it difficult for farmers to make a livelihood. And that there's a conflict there. or problems with consumers who are buying, unhealthy foods, or who might want to get more healthy foods but can't afford them. So again, a tension between the consumer needs and what they can afford. So a big part of the inner capacities we're looking at is how to work, collaborate in a more constructive way. So we're going to be practicing things around deep listening, the ability to be more self-aware. What are my own values, my own growth points? Where can I improve? And how can this alter and help me change the way I interact with others in a way that a relationship that could be conflictual becomes smoother? So that's where, a big part of it is in the collaboration. I think a lot of the contemplative practices that we share, and I'm sure many of you already have some of those practices, but that you might find them, they're enriched by what we will share, helps us to appreciate and deal with complexity more calmly. Sometimes it's very hard if we're only thinking with our rational mind how to look at this, and we're only thinking intellectually. But when we tap into a meditative state, or when we connect to nature, we might start having new insights that give us new ideas for how we might approach complex issues. And overall, I think, many of you and us are working in very challenging situations with climate change and poverty and things that just are hard. And so a lot of the practices we share help enhance our inner resilience, our personal resilience, and our ability to stay grounded and hopeful, and give us ways of engaging with peers and buddies that we can support each other, so that situations that are very challenging are easier to handle. So yeah, these are some of the elements, better collaboration, better ability to address complexity, and stronger personal resilience.
Thank you, Charlotte. That's a beautiful answer.
Thank you. And there was a question on the metrics that will be shared in the program. That's a good question. I mean, there is a metrics that's used for the program evaluation, but Jeroen, how are we addressing that in the program?
Yeah, so good question. So we work with Professor Wamsler from Lund University. Together we have developed a number of questions that evaluate the inner, the outer dimension. It also includes qualitative assessments. So there are a number of elements that we try to capture. And we've also published around that. And we can share articles around that. We work on a book chapter. And we've also written a white paper on this dimension of the inner dimension in sustainability. And so it's an emerging field, I would say. So we're learning, and we're very excited to have you here and with your experience. So I'm not going to say that this is completely established yet. There's still a lot of things we are learning, but there's the Club of Rome, for instance, is one other institution who published on this, on the inner dimension of sustainability. It's also included now increasingly in institutions such as UNFCCC. So I do feel this is something that this is evolving, and we can share some of our insights around this during the program.
Yeah, it's currently, I don't think it's an explicit part of the program in terms of content, right, Jeroen? But maybe that's something that can evolve. And, because a lot of the course is very interactive, so it's also an opportunity to build on your own interests. Mm-hmm. And this could be the topic of one of the group works, for example. So
exactly.
Thanks for reading it. Yeah, thank you, Siti. And there were some questions from Sigrid about is how this relating to Asia? Well, it relates to Asia in the sense that a big part, we provide some concepts and tools and things, but they're applied by you in groups and in your own reflections. And having a group that is fully working in Asia will really enable you to be drawing from this Asian experience and feeding your exchanges into your Asian work. So that's, the relation to Asia is basically yourselves. And you ask also, how often do you presume we meet in person and joining the program as we are across 20 kilometers? you know, of course, you have to see what works for you. It's also possible. We're not there checking, you know, how you're working. I mean, this is really a course for professionals. And if the only way to interact between colleagues is via Zoom, you know, if that works, what works, that works. So make it practical. And I like your question about the Asian shyness to express issues. I think, I mean, what we're finding is that the spaces we create are very safe. That's also why we don't record anything that has to do with people expressing themselves. So you know that what is said in the room stays in the room. And we do, you know, apply this respect of each other's intimacy. So there's a lot of work in pairs where we explore together. And everybody is free to share as much or as little as they wish. But yes, the invitation is to, you know, open up a little more maybe than you might in other ways, because that is part of the journey. It's the self-awareness. But yeah, we do assure you that this is a safe space, and it's actually maybe something we can look together. How do we work on inner capacities in cultures where maybe these things shouldn't be, I mean, are not usually so explicit, right? And that's also where the learning can happen. Yeah, Julia, Jeroen, I see you, maybe you want to add to that. And I also see some other questions in the chat I may have missed.
Just hear what you say. Just, you know, I'm based in Asia. I'm Asian, so I fully resonate with what Charlotte says. You know, we will aim to create a psychologically safe space for you to explore, that you feel supported to explore, to open up, you know, maybe a little bit more, experimenting that, you know, and particularly about, you know, connection with yourself, you know, self-awareness. And sometimes, you know, maybe it's also an opportunity to examine some of our assumptions or beliefs about, you know, certain barriers about, you know, being in the world, you know, being with others, being with the nature. So it's very much experiential, as, you know, all my colleagues are sharing. It's not so much about we teach you what to do in your workplace. We definitely have that humility. We provide a space, we provide some concept, we're leading some practice, we recommend some practice, which in the right condition, hopefully would enhance all 5 inner dimensions. But it's very much up to you, you know, also being, you know, slightly more open and having the courage to actually, you know, get yourself immersed into that and try it out already on the journey. You know, we're not going to measure or supervise or monitor you, because you are all professionals, we're all adults, right? But we are providing a supporting network, and platform, and learning opportunities. Yes. I see more questions coming now.
Yes, there was there was one on whether the course is certified. Jeroen, is it certified? I think.
Well, depends what you call by certified. We can give you a certificate of completion if you really participate actively and attend the sessions, if that's helpful. We are towards the future looking to scale the program, and we'll also have a teacher training, some sort of teacher training journey probably. This is in addition to all the other programs that are going on. I hope that's enough for now, as by way of reassuring you that there's that you'll have something in hand when you complete the session.
Yes, and there's also this question from I'm bringing Sigrid back because it was her question I was about to address. Yeah, Sigrid was asking, is the Asian cohort adapted to Asian cultures, religiousness, etc.? Asia is very broad. So I think within Asia, there are a lot of cultures and a lot of religions, etc. I think what we offer are practices that are, how to say, cross-cultural in a way, and that are just invitations for you to then experience in whatever way resonates with you and you feel is, you know, in line with your own culture, religious practices and beliefs. There is no dogma in this course at all. It is really more about an experience. And, you know, most of these practices are on the platform, which means that you're entirely free to follow them or not. Really, in that sense, this is an inner journey, and each one of us has their own way of relating, and that is completely fine, right? I think, yeah. I don't know if you, Julia or Jeroen, you would like to add to that.
Yeah, maybe Julia, you can add something around that.
Yeah, as you know, Charlotte said, you know, I think this is about integration also. So use this as a kind of, you know, supporting materials and ways rather than something like locking you or bind you. But this should be a tool to support you to, you know, as a change maker in the food system. So use it as, you know, either as walking stick or, you know, supporting partner, but you know, adapt it or integrate into your own practice, into your own work, your religion and your cultural context. So that will be my, you know, encouragement. And maybe also we can have conversations on the journey where you have, you know, questions or you have ideas and where you can exchange and have dialogue.
Yeah, maybe I'll just add one dimension to this, that we do a lot of research, and it is research based, I would say, even though it's experiential. We do, of course, have a theory of change, which is again based on the work of Professor Wamsler, this sense of connecting to ourselves, others, and nature. And one could look for how that fits into your specific worldview or culture. But I guess that is something that we feel that we can build on, and that is perhaps cross-cultural in a certain sense. But this is at least that, yeah, I just wanted to bring that in as well, the dimension of research, and that we feel that we can build on something that is both solid and also intuitively and experientially accessible. Good. I think we're close to the hour, so I'm curious, Noemi, if you will want us to continue, whether we stay along for a little bit more, if we let people go at a certain point.
I think we can, yeah, we can close the session if there are no other questions. Yeah, we can close it. Yeah.
I just saw there was one question. This maybe sits with you, Noemi, anyhow. How could one join the Alliance? So how can someone join Conscious Food System Alliance? Maybe you can provide a link or say something about that.
I will put the link in the chat, but we have an application form that is available on our website. And it's just a simple process where we ask you to answer a few questions about your interest in the inner dimension of food system transformation, and highlight, you know, the topics that you would like to work on, are there our areas of interventions, and a few other information. But I just put the link in the chat so you can apply. So if there are no more other questions, maybe we can close the session. I will share the recording with you, and more material, so you can rewatch the sessions in case, and feel free to reach out to me or to Charlotte and Jeroen and Julia if you have any other questions.
Thank you very much for your interest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.